Northwest Florida.
What's going on, Northwest Florida? You are now riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. You're in the doghouse. I'm David Hayes along with Caveman Rick and the Bone Crusher. Hopefully you are enjoying this beautiful Friday afternoon. Got a lot going on this afternoon as we're going to be diving into the Real Fishing Report with Tim Braddock here in the next segment starting at 4:20. Still questionable to be in the studio, or will it be on the phone again? But you want to keep it locked in here to ESPN Northwest Florida as we'll have the Real Fishing Report from Tim Braddock, owner of Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle here at 4:20. 4:40, we'll dive into a little trivia, do some on this day, and then we'll dive into NFL Week 15, which is where we will continue on with hour number 2. And might talk a little, I don't know, there's a lot to talk about in NFL Week 15. The slate is a little bit more exciting than what it was last week. And we've got 3 games Saturday right here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Which of the 3 games are you the most excited about tomorrow afternoon?
Tomorrow afternoon.
So you're starting it off right here. 11:30 for a 12 p.m. kickoff between the Vikings and the Bengals. Then following that game will be the Steelers and the Colts. And I think my opinion on the best game of tomorrow is going to be the Broncos and the Lions. That'll be the nightcap tomorrow night.
Yeah, if you're looking for like which game's probably on the most fireworks, most offense, I'd probably go Broncos, Lions. However, a couple of those other games got a lot of stuff going on about playoff seeding and whether or not teams are going to make it or not. So that actually has like a little bit more value, if you will, as far as some games go. So you might see a little bit more excitement inside some of those. But yeah, I'm kind of curious to see if the Lions, if they can get back on track and they can start playing the type of football that they played the first half of the season, and then if the Broncos can just keep it rolling the way they've been going.
And should be some fantasy implications in that game as well. So if you are a fantasy footballer, we have made it to the playoffs for most leagues. So with that being said, make sure that you've got your lineup set. In fact, speaking of those Lions, Caveman Rick, we had a little score adjustment, mainly in the Afternoon Underdogs League where Kyle Albritton had beat me last week. It was like 114.76 to 114.36. Then they did the stat correction, and that took 2 points away from Jared Goff, which is who Kyle Albritton started. And so because of that, because of those 2 points, he ended up losing to me 114 to 112, which had my record go from 5-8 to 7-7, and his from 8-6 to 7-7. And so with that, he missed the playoffs.
Wow.
And we announced what was it, Monday or Tuesday, who was going to be moving on from our 4 leagues to the Champions League, who's going to be staying in the Champions League, and we announced Kyle Albritton as the final finalist from the Afternoon Underdogs, only to find out just minutes before the Sunday or the Thursday night football game that he wasn't going to be making it.
Swamp Thing got squashed, baby. Sorry, Kyle, that stinks, buddy. But yeah, man, that sucks. You got it, you're thinking you're there, and then it just gets snatched right away from you.
Yeah, man. I imagine that's
gotta be rough.
I imagine that makes it tough to try to keep up with your lineups through the playoffs. But I mean, hey, all I could say is the proof is in the pudding. I've preached to you guys for 3 years. Hey, even if you don't make the playoffs, you still need to be setting your lineup. There might have been 1 week this year where I did miss. I've had a lot going on.
There's a lot going on with everybody.
Exactly. And I did have 1 week, I think, where I didn't, and it was early on in the season where I didn't set my lineups the right way or whatever. But even knowing, I've been running the Coach James Hale team for him for the majority of the league, and that one we've been out of contention since like week 4, it felt like. But still, just setting the lineup and not trying to make it easier. The thing is sometimes you make it easier for the top teams in the league if you just stop messing with your lineup. So if you sign up to play fantasy football with ESPN Northwest Florida, make sure that you're keeping up with your lineups throughout the year. But we're going to have a great year next year as well. But
I did something dopey last night.
What'd you did?
Last night I didn't set my lineup, and I had Keenan Allen, who was out, and I had Devontae Adams on the bench, and I could have swapped them, and that's 16 points right there.
Yeah. Now, which league was this in?
That was in the Champions League, which I'm not in the playoffs because, that was a pretty good league. Everybody's in there, supposedly pretty good. So, it's not hurting my, chance of staying in there, so I guess I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I feel that. We do got to give a happy birthday to one of the guys that's in the league with us in our Boomer Bus League, Danny Griffin. Happy birthday, Danny G. We're going to be having his daughter, Lexi Griffin. She plays soccer over there at Southern Miss. We're going to be having her in the studio with us, I think sometime early on next week. Maybe even, I want to say Monday, 5:40, we're going to have her in the studio, and she wants to get into some broadcast journalism, and that's what she's going to school for. So
get your foot in the door, and I guess she'll be in town because of the holiday season, I guess, coming around.
Exactly, which we're not going to have a whole lot of shows coming up due to bowl games and stuff. In fact, I think the week after Christmas, every single day there's a bowl game right in that Afternoon Underdogs time slot from 4 to 6. So that could make it difficult, but our local segment brought to you by Bar Burritos. Visit Bar Burritos on 23rd Street. Tell them that the Underdog sent you. Caveman Rick, if you want to get this page ready, I'll let you take the high school basketball for boys scores and JUCO basketball, girls JUCO basketball. Gulf Coast and the Commodores take down Columbia State 103-48. I got to go check me out a Gulf Coast game here soon. And I love the sounder there, Bone Crusher. And girls high school basketball, Rutherford over Graceville 72-47. Big night there. I'm sure Shakira Edwards had a great evening as well. Arnold beat Franklin 45-22. Walton over Bethlehem 43-37. Fort Walton Beach over Niceville 43-36. And Paxton beats Baker 53-21. If you want to carry on with the rest of those scores there,
yeah, with the high school boys, we got Walton losing to Sneeds 43-56. Chipley taking down Poplar Springs 60-49. Close one, Niceville taking down Pine Forest 37-36.
Ooh, not so close for the next one.
Right, yeah, no doubt, man. We got a little bit of button whooping here. Alpha 66 taking down Osceola Christian 26. Wiregrass losing to Graceville 53-61, and Rehoboth losing to Malone 56-63. Moving on to high school girls soccer, you got Mosley taking down Leon 4-1, and in the boys side you have Mosley and Bay playing out to a 1-1 draw. You have South Walton taking down Walton, 1-0, and East Hill Christian losing to North Bay Haven 6-0.
Congratulations to all of our winners from last night. Holmes County and Freeport and boys high school basketball. Holmes County got the win today, 61-38. Baker's going to be hosting Vernon tonight at 6:15. Paxton hosting Long tonight at 5 p.m. Liberty County hosting Alpha at 6 p.m. Bozeman undefeated at 8-0, hosting Arnold, who is 2-4 tonight at 6:45. Niceville hosts Fort Walton Beach at 6:30. Bluntstown and Sneeds, both teams undefeated. Bluntstown coming in with a record of 3-0. Sneeds with a record of 7-0, and they will tip off tonight at 6:45. Bethlehem undefeated as well at 7-0. They'll be hosting 6-3 Ponce de Leon at 7 p.m. North Bay Haven is 0-8. They'll be hosting Wakulla, who's 3-3 at 7:30. Rutherford is 3-4. They'll be hosting 1-5 Leon at 7 p.m. Ooh, this one could be a good one. Bay tonight hosting Mosley. Bay is 3-4. Mosley 6-2. That will be at Bay tonight at 7:30. Asilla Christian hosting Weewaw also at 7:30. Destin hosting South Walton. Snook Christian Academy, I wonder if they got some good fish around there, hosting Rocky Bayou Christian at 7 p.m. Florala hosting Walton at 8, and Wiregrass hosting Cottondale at 7:30. In girls high school basketball tonight, Florala already took down Laurel Hill 50-42. Bluntstown is in the midst of hosting Sneeds. Mariana's 4-3. They'll be hosting 4-4 Walton at 5:30. Covenant hosting Alethea Christian Academy. That'll be tonight at 5:30. Freeport hosting Destin at 6 p.m. Bethlehem hosting Ponce de Leon at 5:30. Asilla Christian host Weewaw at 6 p.m. Choctaw hosting Niceville tonight at 6:30. Franklin County hosting Wakulla. A big one for Panama City as the Arnold Marlins are 4-3. They'll be hosting Shakira Edwards and the Rutherford Rams, who are 6-1. That game will tip tonight at 6:30. And Mosley Mosley hosting Bay. Bay is 3-5. Mosley 5-4. That game will tip tonight at 7 p.m. We'll go over to boys high school soccer. Bozeman 0-6-1 hosting 2-1-2 Destin at 7 p.m. And Gulf Breeze, who is 8-0-1, will be hosting Niceville, who's 6-1-1 tonight at 7 p.m. And in girls high school soccer, South Walton hosting St. John's Country Day at 5 p.m. North Bay Haven Academy holds a record of 6-3. They'll be hosting 2-3-3 Milton. That'll be at 5 p.m. And Rutherford, Coach Old, no, this is girls soccer, but Rutherford 4-4. They've got Arnold, who's 1-6. They will start tonight at 5 p.m. Bozeman hosting Destin at 5 p.m. And it also says here that Bozeman is hosting Franklin County at 5 p.m. So that'll be a doubleheader between two different schools there for Bozeman. I'm not sure what Max Preps has got going on, but one of those teams, I'm sure Bozeman is playing this evening. Last night, the Raiders seemed like they were playing no one on the field. Like they had an invisible opponent. What was the score going into half? 42-0?
42-0, I believe. Yeah, it was crazy.
By the time I got from flag football, which team dynasty now 3-0, best team over there in the SES youth flag football league that they've got going on right now.
Big up to the defensive side of the ball, and you end up 2 touchdowns in 3 games, right?
Oh, man, and the offense was crucial last night, getting 3 touchdowns. So just a lot of fun watching them, and Team Dynasty's got the Patriots, I believe, tomorrow at 10:30 in the morning. But the Raiders, though, by the time that I got to my brother's house last night and was watching that game, I mean, there really wasn't anything to watch, and I picked the Chargers yesterday. I think a lot of us on the panel picked the Chargers. One of my biggest reasons was, I mean, the quarterback who was filling in for Justin Herbert's name was Easton Stick, and that is a sports name if I've ever heard one. And he was a stick in the mud last night. Not necessarily just him, but the Raiders did not let the Chargers get anything going offensively until late in the game. What'd you take away from that 63-21 obliteration of the Chargers?
First, big ups to the Raiders defense, man. They've been playing really well all season long. Guys like Max Crosby just been getting at it. So good, good for them. Aiden O'Connell, we hadn't seen a whole lot of him out of this year. It's kind of crazy that of all the games and of all the people scoring a lot of points, it's some team like the Raiders and a guy like him quarterbacking that's doing that. More of an indictment, I guess, on the Chargers. Brandon Staley. Halftime, and we were talking last night. I mean, if I was, the Spanos family, I would have stopped them over there, walking off the field and been like, yo, dude, if you want to stay, you got to buy a ticket because you ain't coming back here. You're out. Gone. See you later. And so I don't know why they waited to today. I think it would have been a lot more dramatic and it made more of a statement if they would have done it last night, in Vegas and not like let them, fly back with the team. But hey, what can you say about that too? How about let's go, Brandon? But anyway, moving on from that.
And the Chargers moving on from Brandon Staley.
Yeah, and Spanos as well. I mean, not Spanos, Telesco.
Telesco,
GM,
Tom Telesco, which is also a really cool name. Not surprising at all that they moved on. Surprised that it even took so long because when I first started doing a little show prep during the Inside Drive today, that's one of the first things I put is how much longer, how long is that leash now for Brandon Staley and the Chargers and his position as the head coach. And, I mean, golly, you really have to do the Chargers, when they make their hire, you have to stick with Justin Herbert for another year, right?
You would think so. I mean, the guy's had some progression going on every year. He's had the unfortunate luck of pretty much every year having a different coordinator or a different head coach and having to learn a new system, a new scheme, and new language and whatnot. So I'm sure that's kind of retarded his growth a little bit, for lack of a better term. So I think if you have some consistency there, that definitely would help your growth out and help him improve. Unless he just basically plateaus. And this is all we're going to get out of the guy from now on. But I really think he's got a lot more in the tank, though. I think he's got a lot more talent.
I mean, the Chargers just have such a talented roster. I don't even think that there's an argument that if there's a destination that any team, that any coach out there who's wanting to be a head coach in this next cycle, the Chargers got to be the overwhelming favorite.
They could have had Sean Payton.
They could have had Sean Payton, but they didn't because the Broncos had the opening first. Now, I mean, you got Jim Harbaugh out there. Who knows what happens with the college football playoff? off? Does he dance with the NFL again? If he does, is there a better place? Where else would you rather go than when you've already got the NFL quarterback, right? Or at least that you have the perception that you've got your NFL quarterback in Herbert. You've got one of the best running backs in Eckler. I don't know where that contract is, but I do believe that he just signed an extension heading into this season, right? You've got a good defense. I mean, you've got the
Derwin James.
You've got plenty of defense. The issue really is, all right, you're going to be playing in the AFC West, but you're going to be with a good team in the Chargers, and they just need leadership. I mean, how many years are we just going to play the same old thing with the Chargers, where basically a coach gets 3 years and they end up with a record that's right around 500, but they have one of the top. Is it wrong for me to say that they might have they have a roster that's ranked in the top 10 of the NFL?
Oh, easily a top 10 roster. I'm sure top to bottom, that's got to be a top 10 roster. And, Harbaugh, to his credit, he's been in California. He's had success both with the 49ers and with Stanford when he's been in California. So that, bodes well if he does to go there. But I hate to say it, man, like that franchise is cursed. It does not matter who goes there, what you do. They are just not going to do anything. I mean, we've seen back when they had, guys like Drew Brees, back, all the way back with Stan Humphries when they went to the Super Bowl and got their teeth kicked in by San Francisco, back when they had Dan Fouts. It's just a team that, can play well during the regular season. Come playoff time, they make it in, can even make a little bit of a run, but just don't have enough. And I'm afraid they're like a team like the Cincinnati Bengals or like the Detroit Lions that no matter what you do, you're just behind the 8 ball, and I just don't know why, and I don't know how to describe it other than just some kind of a curse or a jinx.
Yeah, a couple of other news dealing with football, just injuries mostly here. C.J. Stroud doubtful versus the Tennessee Titans, dealing with that concussion, which is good news for the Titans, but bad news overall for football. I still think that he's got Rookie of the Year all but sealed up, but this is one of those young guns in the league that you want to see on the field any opportunity that he can be on the field. So we'll see what happens, but that does bode well for the Titans, who are still have an opportunity in this AFC South race, especially with the Jaguars taking on the Ravens and the Colts taking on the Steelers. So we have no idea which direction that game will be going. And then also for the Dolphins, which we saw against the Titans how important, how valuable Tyreek Hill was to that Miami Dolphins offense, and he is questionable versus the Jets. The Jets had a huge offensive output, their best offensive output last week against the Texans. How important is this game for the Jets, or is this game more important for the Jets or for the Dolphins?
I think right now, probably for the Dolphins as far as the standings go, but I think in this game, in like the grand scheme of things, man, I got him on my fantasy team, but I say you sit Tyreek Hill, because if you want to like go deep in the playoffs and you want to have a chance to do something, especially being a team from Miami, and you're probably not going to have the number 1 seed and you're going to have to go on the road in January, you need to have a guy like that. And if he's not healthy because you're putting him out here like week 15, 16, and he's not healthy and he messes that ankle up worse, you're just not going to do nothing come playoff time. So their best interest, I would say, sit them down, play against the Jets. They had a big win, like you said, last week. I think there might be a hangover, a bit of a letdown there after that. Just go without Tyreek, see what happens, or at least have him suited up on the sidelines. If he can just go for a couple of plays, be a decoy or something like that to help you out, maybe. But in the best interest of the franchise and the long-term success like this year, I would say you sit him down.
So if Tyreek Hill doesn't go, who do you end up playing? You playing Drake London at that point?
Probably so.
You're playing Max.
And I don't think London's going to have the output in the week that he had last week. What did he get, like 26 points?
Yeah, he had like 22 points or something.
So I think he's only projected to get 10 right now. So, but you never know. I mean, he could have another great week, back to back. But that would probably be my next option if I can't play Tyreek Hill.
And that was a good pickup by you too, because I kept on eyeing him. He actually had 29.2.
It was bad not playing him, man. I should have played him instead of sitting him.
Hey, but you know what you did do though, by him being on your roster, you kept him off of someone else's roster at that point. Well, the Dodgers just keep on getting richer. Last night after the Afternoon Underdogs, they made the trade with the Rays to get Glasnow over to the Dodgers, and then today, which at first we were hearing it was going to be a 4-year, $110 million deal. It's actually a 5-year, $135 million extension. But I don't have a big issue with this. I know that the feeling when you see a deal like this, this is like, oh, man, they just got Ohtani. They've got everything that they need. Now they bring in Glasnow, who's got one of the best names in pitching, and I don't mean that as, Tom Telesco or anything, just saying that he's built the brand up, but he's often injured. And what was one of the issues with the Dodgers rotation last year? It was triviaed with injuries. Exactly. So I don't know how much of how big this move is for the Dodgers rotation. If he's healthy, it's huge. But if not, it's almost like having Jacob deGrom on your roster, And also, speaking of those Rangers, Max Scherzer had back surgery, so he will be out until midseason. I don't know how much that's actually going to end up affecting the Rangers, because with a wily veteran like Max Scherzer, the longer offseason you give him,
that's going to help him out like next year. And so if the Rangers are actually making that push, now you get a healthy, rested Scherzer for the back half of the season in the playoffs. I mean, that's not good for anybody else.
That is
having to play him. And hey, going back to the Dodgers, man, the first domino falling, man, in this Ohtani deal, them having extra money. You talked about, the original deal. We talked about, 4 years, 110. Now it's 5 years, 135. Where's that extra money coming from? Cha-ching, saving on the deferred payments and stuff. So right away, they're already angling that and using that to their advantage, not even 48 hours, basically, after they're done with the deal.
All right, just got word from Tim. It is going to be a call-in segment. Y'all keep it locked in here to ESPN Northwest Florida. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. The Real Fishing Report with Tim Braddock is up next.
You're home for the NFL. ESPN Northwest Florida.
It's a weekend jam-packed with exciting NFL action. Triple header Saturday. Coverage starts at 11 with the Minnesota Vikings at the Cincinnati Bengals, followed by Steelers at Colts. Then it's Saturday Night Football with the Denver Broncos at the Detroit Lions. Listen live on your home for the NFL on the Gulf Coast. ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida with your Friday's weather. The rest of the day there will be a moderate breeze out of the east-northeast, some clouds and 66. Mostly clouds tonight, a bit colder at 55. Tomorrow, overcast in the morning followed by very heavy rain and a high of 63. The same at 63 Sunday, and we'll have a good chance of rain in the morning, but otherwise some clouds. This forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
PCB Hobby, the beach's premier hobby store for sports cards, comics, coins, and trading card games. PCB Hobby carries the largest selection of boxes and packs from the latest releases of brands like Topps, Panini, Leaf, and more. Looking for a specific player or team? PCB Hobby has a wide assortment of raw and graded cards. They carry parallel rookie, game used, and autographed cards in both modern and vintage. Have a collection you want to sell? We buy, sell, and trade. PCB Hobby on Back Beach Road, just east of Florida Linen. Call 850-320-8388.
It's time to pick your path and go big and go bold from Bill Bird Kia. You can drive away in a brand new 2024 Telluride from Bill Bird Kia. The 2024 Telluride protects what matters, and it's built for the long haul. Its technology will connect with confidence, and its upscale, all-around rugged look will take you on to the next adventure. The road is yours. Bill Bird Kia, the home of the 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty. Stop by and see us today at 2435 East 15th Street or BillBirdKia.com.
They said it couldn't be done. The Afternoon Underdogs are live.
They say it can't be done.
Are we going to do what they say can't be done?
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
And you're back riding with the Afternoon Underdogs here on ESPN Northwest Florida. I'm Caveman Rick along with David Hayes, and we got Bone Crusher back here on the ones and twos. It's Friday, it's 4:20. You guys know what time it is. It's time for Tim Braddock from Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle with the Real Fishing Report. Tim, not in the studio today. We in Studio F-150. What's going on this afternoon?
Man, I'm in Never Ever Land right now. Out here just pulled over trying to do the report. Was hoping to be able to make it in studio today, but got caught up on a job moving furniture of all things.
Nice. Happy Friday, man, moving furniture. So other than moving furniture, what's going on in the fishing world?
Yeah, great question. Obviously a lot of talk, particularly in shop, about the weather coming in this weekend. That seems to be kind of taking the headline over the past couple of days. we have had a good little report from some surf fishing. We've had guys catching blues from the surf on any type of silver spoon, silver stick bait. We ran features on that fishing lure, the Deadly Dick, in the past.
Right.
And those have been doing great for us. And so, again, still fish out there to be called. The inshore bite is really where a lot of the catches have been coming from. We have several captains who are still running a few trips this time of year. They've been catching great bull reds, 35 to 40-inch reds in the bay on light tackle. So if you've never done that, that's, that old drag just starts screaming off the reel, and it's something great to get the experience. And then finally landing that fish is just exhilarating. So we've had that, and then the trout bite's been pretty good too.
Right on. Any size to those bluefish that people were catching out there on the surf?
The largest bluefish that we physically saw caught was a 31-inch. So that's one of the biggest bluefish I've seen caught in the Panhandle in my 18 years being down here. So
pretty nice size fish.
Yeah, that's a pretty nice size fish. Most of them are in that medium size range, 16 to 20 inches. So, it's a good size fish, but we did have that one kind of extra large one caught. It was one of our regulars from up in the Northeast that comes down for the winter time. He comes down every November and stays through March. And he brought us a picture in of a 31-inch blue that he had caught. So,
and those are schooling fish. So typically they hang around the same size. So if you caught one about that size, good chances there's some more around that size out there.
There's some more. Yeah, he was probably one of the bigger ones hanging out around the outside edges of that school. But there's definitely some big fish that were in that same vicinity. By nature, when that happens, we've had a lot of sharks caught. November tends to be high shark month. So now that we're transitioning into December, we're kind of seeing a lot of the folks coming in from out of town, particularly it seems like Texas and Tennessee. Both of those states, when they come in town, they want to go to the beach and catch a shark. And so we've been selling a lot of Jack Cabal, a lot of bonita, and to be able to hook these guys up to go shark fishing. So,
right on. What else you got? Anything on the offshore side? I mean, we know we talked about the weather not being so great, so nobody's getting out there, I guess, not too much going on.
Yeah, we had a few guys get out at the beginning of this week. An occasional wahoo had been caught.
Wow.
Just nothing of any great numbers really to report at this point. A lot of what is being caught has got to go, back. So offshore is a little bit slow right now. We do look for that to pick up, though, come the 1st of January here, or last of December, 1st of January. So for the next 2 weeks, as long as we can get a few days where the seas are not 7 to 10 foot, as they're forecasted to be this weekend, then that will be some great opportunities to be able to go out and go offshore fishing.
Right on. All right, so we got the holiday season coming up. Obviously, you're in the business of selling gear and tackle and whatnot. You did mention about some newer products that you've had coming in. Anything new coming in the last week or so since we talked to you last?
Yeah, we featured some last week and kind of ran up against time, but the biggest addition has been the entire Carnage, Pin Carnage rods that are now officially in stock. It's kind of their elite rod that they make. They've got great action to those rods. This week we got in their 8-6 series, which is a great rod for inshore fishing to be able to cast, particularly if you're throwing artificials. There's something about that 8-6 rod. I personally took one out this past week, fished it, had a good time. And just the action on that rod is great. I in particular was targeting speckled trout because it's where a lot of the report has been. And being able to work, I like a real light bucktail jig. It's got like a 16-ounce head on it. It's a custom jig that we get made out of Georgia for us. And it's got a smaller hook, it's got like a number 4 hook that's embedded into that bucktail jig. And there's something about putting it on a clear cork. We sell them in shop, and they also come on a regular cork. But you put them on sometimes what's called a magic bubble, and being able to pop those shrimp across, or that bucktail jig across the water, it produces great results in those flat areas where the water is 4 to 6 feet deep. And particularly if you've ever fished for trout, you kind of look for those potholes that's in those grass beds. And if you can throw in or around those potholes, or even where the grass and the sand kind of transition, those areas tend to be great areas to fish, to find those trout as they're cruising along, darting in and out on those flats.
Yeah, very similar to bass fishing. So if you know about bass fishing, anybody out there, same kind of technique. You find those bare spots, those potholes like Tim's talking about, great places where you can get a hookup on some lures or some baits.
Yeah, let me ask you this, Rick. Have you ever gotten a fishing item for Christmas?
Oh, yeah, tons of fishing items for Christmas.
Well, that's great. What's your most memorable? Maybe not necessarily your most favorite, but what was your most memorable fishing item you got for Christmas?
The most memorable, man, that's kind of tough. The most memorable, it was probably a rod and reel combo that I got, from my ex-wife. It was a, offshore kind of a, combo. It was a Quantum, I want to say Big Surf or some kind of, I can't think of the name. This was like 22 years ago or something. But big, nice reel, nice rod combo, pre-rigged with some nice braided line. Kind of the thing like, you get something like that, as a gift. And, man, you just want to just run right outside and start using it.
Yeah,
and obviously you can't, because you got stuff to do. But it's kind of cool because you get that gift and it's something that you can kind of look at and mess with a little bit, and then, get that anticipation for when you do get to use it, in another couple weeks or, whatever the time period is.
I was thinking back, David, have you ever gotten any fishing items for Christmas?
I think that I'm trying, man, when you asked that question, I knew that you were going to ask me, and I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, I think that I got like when I was real young, like a rod and reel. But as far as that goes, I don't think that I've ever gotten any tackle or anything like that for Christmas. Now, I know that I got a rod and reel for my birthday one time, but I don't think I ever got any for Christmas.
To piggyback off the birthday thing, I think it was my 5th birthday, I want to say. I got a Tom and Jerry fishing rod, right?
Nice.
And I was a big Tom and Jerry fan, right? So it's like a Zebco kind of 33 closed face, spinning kind of reel combo. And I ended up leaving the birthday party because my dad was going fishing, and I threw a fit because he was going fishing, and I wanted to go and use my rod and reel. So he took me, and I left my birthday party like an hour early, and I left my friends or whatever to just hang there at the house until their parents came and got them or whatever so I could go fishing. But, hey, it was my birthday. I got what I wanted.
Man, that's great.
Yeah.
I was thinking back as I was prepping for the report and thinking, I don't think I've ever once gotten anything fishing related for Christmas. Ever once.
Wow.
At all the fishing I do. So,
well, Tim, here's something for you. You have to give yourself something this Christmas. If nobody's giving you something, so at least you have something this year, you have to give something to yourself.
Yeah. I may have done that with a new pair of Costa Aviators that came in that I really like.
Nice.
So they came in yesterday. So those may officially be my Christmas bonus to myself right there.
Well, let me ask you this. We talked about some products. With the weather being inclement this weekend, and we've had a little bit of that now, and, people not being able to get out, not to mention this time of year, people have gotten, shopping to do, or they got Christmas parties, so they might not have the time to get out. But what about maintenance? This is a good time, too, maybe to talk about, people either like, putting a new, spool of line on a reel, take them apart, maybe lubing them up, putting them back together, or taking them to your shop maybe and have them serviced.
Yeah, great point. So let's let me piggyback off kind of what's happening in the shop. It's especially surrounding kind of the Christmas. You guys are talking about the little kids combos. This year alone, we put together. We had these little Zebco spinning reels in shop that we put together for kids to be able to have as gifts. We've done a handful of those. And we put together a surf fishing kit that's a 9-foot pin Fierce rod, and it comes on a 6,000 spool, comes fully spooled with braid, 30-pound braid ready to go, and includes the sand spike and two, we call them arrow straps. So it's literally a bundle altogether with a Babe Ruth hat. It's about $350 worth of goodies, all wrapped into about a $250 price point. So if somebody's looking, for the surf fisherman in their life, we have those. We have 2 of those that are left. We put together about 20 of those for the season. So we have 2 left when I left the shop today. They'll be there until they're gone.
Hurry down.
And we're working on, we got 2 custom rod and reels for the offshore world that we're building. These custom rod and reels range anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000. It's obviously a little late for those, but that just shows the progression. We got little kids rods that are right at $25-$30, completely set up and rigged and ready, all the way up to $2,000. So if you're struggling maybe a little bit, try to figure out what to do or how to set somebody up. That's obviously what we're there for. I emphasize to all of our guys, we're not there just to push product and get it out the door. Obviously, we have to as part of what our job as bait and tackle suppliers are, but we want to make sure that you have the right fit, the right product for your application and for what you're trying to do. So, there's a lot of options there as well.
Right on. We're not running out of time. Go ahead, David. What you got?
Well, I just saw this browsing through Twitter from the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation. It says, and this is for my fellas who might be thinking about getting engaged or something, and it says getting her an engagement ring for Christmas. Here's your con list. It's predictable. There's no element of surprise. Perhaps it's too romantic, and it's not a legal form of ID. But you could go out and get her a lifetime fishing license for Christmas. Here's your pros. An instant shock and awe. She'll never see it coming, and it is an official state document. But I think that is a really good idea, maybe not just for your significant other, but a lifetime fishing license here in the state of Florida.
Yeah, I think our lifetime license now are running around $1,700 for adults. So that's a pretty interesting gift right there.
It is. I remember when I feel like you could get the gold sportsman license lifetime for hunting and fishing for like $500.
Yeah, I think I was going to say $400 or $500, no more than that. But if it's gone up that much, wow.
I think that's for everything. That's for that gold sportsman category. So it
covers hunting.
If you're going to get her fishing license, you might want to get her hunting, WMA, everything she ever needs.
There you go, man.
Just say, baby, I got you completely covered from start to finish.
Yeah, no doubt, man. That's what you need to do. And then, you got an excuse. If you want to go out, you can ask her to tag along. And if she does, cool. And if she doesn't, you can still go and do yours. You had her covered, and you tried, right?
Yeah. I mean, for God's sake, don't go out and get her a vacuum cleaner or some Lululemon or, workout clothes, I think it's a much better idea to go get her a fishing rod and say, hey, baby, we're going to spend some time together.
Quality time.
Yeah, you try those other 2 things, you might as well just buy yourself a doghouse.
Yeah, no doubt, right?
Yeah. No doubt.
Well, you got anything else you want to tell us here before we get into doing the fishing report here shortly?
Yeah, the summary, absolutely. So we're talking about maintenance. We offer full-service maintenance at the shop on the reels. And we're able to, provide a deep clean if that's what's needed. We're able to fully provide repairs to any gears or springs that may be damaged in a particular reel. We have a fantastic reel service repairman who is right by our shop. He comes down. He's got a little workshop set up in his house about half a block from my shop. And he's been doing our reel repair for about 2 years. Does a fantastic job on providing all those services. We just did a full service for a guy that was outfitting a Viking, 70-foot Viking sport fisher. So those are the kinds of things we're wrapping up. This time of year is really trying to get the maintenance portion done. I know it sounds crazy, but we're really about 8 to 10 weeks away from picking back up into some heavy fishing again. So
Right on. All right, so before you get into giving us the report here real quick, also, since we might not have you on here next week, why don't you tell everybody again where you're located and how to get a hold of you, so if they want to get some of those Christmas gifts and get down there, they can see you guys before Christmas, and then we'll do the report right after that.
Sure. We're located on the west end of Panama City Beach at 21301 Panama City Beach Parkway, Panama City Beach, Florida. And that's about a mile and a half from the Lake Powell Bridge.
All right, and then you got the report too for us?
Yeah, let's run the summary quickly. Rough weekend ahead to try and fish, especially offshore. Sunday afternoon and evening may allow for some good fishing inshore in the protected waterways. The trout bite has been particularly good in these areas. Working a white grub on a quarter-ounce jig head or white bucktail lure on a cord produces some quality trout in the back bays right now. The other option is to come fishing for those last-minute Christmas gift ideas. We have everything from hand-painted lures to complete surf setups available in shop. Be sure to come by Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle for this season's premium gift ideas.
All right.
So tight lines this weekend, gentlemen. Stay dry, and it's certainly going to be windy, if anything else.
All right, man. Thanks for the report and spending some time with us today, man. If we don't talk to you next week, man, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Hope you have a good holiday season with you and your family and your new bride. And we'll get up with you very soon, Tim.
All right. Merry Christmas, gents. Bye-bye.
Merry Christmas, Tim. Thank you, buddy.
All right, that was Tim Braddock from Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle with the real fishing report. Like he says, get out there and get you some holiday gifts for friends and family. And if you have some time out there and you can get out there into the weather, get out there and try to catch some speckled trout off of the tips he just gave us. So stay tuned with us here at 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. We'll be back in just a few moments.
Mornings on ESPN Northwest Florida just got unsportsmanlike.
If there's multiple urinals, do not go next to me.
Yeah, that's a problem.
If there's 5 urinals, 1, 3, and 5, then you fill in 2 and 4. Where do you go if you're the first one in? I go to 5.
I go all the way at the end.
That 5.
All the way to the end.
Then the next person has to go to 1, the next person 3.
Yeah.
Then you go 2 and 4.
There's a certain level of etiquette that you have
100%.
at the urinal. Yeah.
Absolutely
There's
correct.
a workflow here.
Evan, Canty, and Michelle. Weekdays 5 to 7 on ESPN Northwest
This
Florida.
is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida with your Friday's weather. The rest of the day, there will be a moderate breeze out of the east-northeast, some clouds and 66. Mostly clouds tonight, a bit colder at 55. Tomorrow, overcast in the morning, followed by very heavy rain and a high of 63. The same at 63 Sunday, and we'll have a good chance of rain in the morning, but otherwise some clouds. This forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Bill Bird Kia is giving you holiday savings during the season of giving back. Take your next holiday adventure in a brand new Kia. Now offering 1.9% APR up to 48 months on the purchase of a new 2023 Kia Sorento. You'll get the perfect balance of comfort, safety, and technology. Bill Bird Kia is the home of the 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty. Stop by and see us at 2435 East 15th Street or anytime at Bill Bird Kia, PanamaCity.com. We'll treat you like family and give you the peace of mind you can trust.
Offer from Kia Finance America for the purchase of a new 2023 Kia Sorento with $2,165 per month per 1,000 financed at 48 months. Quality is limited. No down payment required. Cannot be combined with other finance offers. The 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty is a Bill Bird Kia warranty. See dealer for complete details. Offer for well-qualified buyers. Must take delivery from dealer stock through 1/2/24.
From the pros to the future pros, we're your home team station for home team sports. Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs. ESPN Northwest Florida.
And you are back in the doghouse riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. Tuned in to ESPN Northwest Florida 104.3 here in Panama City, 101.9 in Port St. Joe. Streaming live on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitter, all at ESPN Northwest Florida. You can like and share the Facebook feed and page. You can head on over to YouTube and subscribe to our YouTube channel and go on over to Twitter and like that post there and repost it as well. You can also call or text us throughout the day today at 850-215-6290. Traffic jamming trivia, the trivia question for today. Brandon Staley does not hold the record for most points allowed in the final game of an NFL coaching career. Who does? This will be a extremely tough and difficult question to Google, I think, anyways. So it'll be interesting. I don't think anyone's going to be able to get this one. Brandon Staley does not hold the record for most points allowed in the final game of an NFL coaching career. Who does?
Yeah, like Dave said, he doesn't think anybody can get this one, so let's prove him wrong, guys. Let's figure this answer out and call in.
I don't think that you guys can get her done today, man. Even with Google, I really don't even think your Google fingers can get you the correct answer.
I see the answer to this, and I didn't even know the answer to this one.
I have no idea who this feller is, man. But it's your opportunity to win $25 to not the, but that boot store, a 12-pack of Buffalo Rock, and then to also give your pride a little boost.
How about that's like the only claim to your fame or maybe infamy is you're the answer to a trivia question.
Yeah, well, it's all the way back in the early 1900s. On this day, however, in sports history, we'll go every other one on this one. In 1973, Tennessee and Temple played to a very high-scoring game. The final in this NCAA basketball game was Tennessee 11, Temple 6.
Hey, I wonder if John Chaney was actually coaching that basketball game for Temple. He was pretty old, so maybe he was still around.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right, moving on. You got 1980. The New York Yankees, Dave Winfield, becomes the highest paid player in the deal. 10 years, $15 million. How about that?
Man, just
breaking the bank.
Hey, what Shohei's getting actually paid is more than that.
Yeah.
Because he's getting $2 million a year in actuality, and then deferring how much a year? $46 million a year.
Think of how far we've came where that was like a big deal in 1980, him signing that contract, you know?
$68 million a year deferred there for Shohei Ohtani and Dave Winfield back in 1980, the highest paid player at 10 years, $15 million. And in 1997 on this day, the San Francisco 49ers retire the great Joe Montana's number of 16.
Right on. 2011, Barry Bonds is sentenced to 30 days of house arrest, 2 years of probation, and 250 hours of community service for an obstruction of justice conviction stemming from a grand jury appearance in 2003. Way to go, Barry.
2019, the Raiders in Oakland played their final NFL game there in Oakland, conceding 17 unanswered second-half points to fall 20-16 to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and then they started playing out of Las Vegas. And last night in Vegas, they put up 63 points on Thursday Night Football, and you know Bezos had to be pretty excited. Even if it wasn't a good game, at least there was a lot of points put up on the board. And now the Chargers without their GM, Tom Telesco, and without their head coach, and Brandon Staley. So they've got some decisions to be making as far as that franchise goes. Man, so Herbert goes down, Easton Stick comes in, and we were expecting maybe some quite a few times this year, we've had the no-name backup come in, make their debut, or even Will Levis make his debut, and they have a great game. So that was one of my thoughts last night. Easton Stick making his debut. He might have a great game, not a lot of tape on him, and it went totally opposite. But then you go up there to Cincinnati, and Jake Browning is having a heck of a year trying to get the Bengals back in order and whatnot. Do you think that the Bengals are a better football team than what the Chargers are? Because we were talking about that Chargers roster earlier, and it doesn't make a lot of sense to me how Jake Browning has got the Bengals playing better football than what Joe Burrow had them playing.
Coaching. There's a reason why Zach Taylor's still in Cincinnati and why Brandon Staley's not in San Diego or L.A. anymore with the Chargers. I mean, it's simple as put. Yes, Chargers have a better roster, I would say, overall than Cincinnati, but there again, there's a lot more stability in Cincinnati. You got a proven coach. with a great quarterback. I mean, you could argue Burrow and Herbert. We got AG all the time. Of course, he's got Burrow as his guy. He's a Cincinnati fan. Who does he like to bash all the time? Justin Herbert. Guys in the same class, so you're kind of obviously going to probably prop up your guy and somehow diminish the other guy to make your guy look a lot better. So I kind of get that, But yeah, I mean, if you swap those two quarterbacks on, each other's teams, what do you think happens there?
What do you think happens there?
I think you're probably going to get the same results. I think Cincinnati, you're still going to, maybe make the Super Bowl, or you're going to go deep into the playoffs. And then, again, with the Chargers, you're probably going to continue to fail. Now, mind you, like what I was talking earlier about some franchises being cursed or jinxed, if you will, and I did mention the Cincinnati being one of those franchises. They've had some recent success, so I don't want to quite hold that against them. But I think if you did swap these quarterbacks on these teams and you give a lot more stability, like I said earlier, to a guy like Justin Herbert, you probably see some better results.
What would be the most interesting quarterback swap in the NFL?
The most interesting.
So you've got that one, right? Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow. That would be really interesting to see both of those guys on flip-flop the equation, flip-flop the positions. Jalen Hurts and Dak Prescott if you take Jalen Hurts and put him on the Cowboys, are the Cowboys as good as what they are with Dak? And then on the same flip side of that, you put Dak and you put him in the Philadelphia Eagles offense, are they as dangerous? How about C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young? If you take Bryce Young and you put him on the Texans, are they in this position that we find the Texans to be in right now? And if C.J. Stroud is on the Panthers, is Frank Reich even out of there in Carolina right now?
That's a fair question to ask. That's a very good point. But there again, too, looking at the talent that C.J. Stroud has around him with the guys like Nico Collins and Tank Dell, even though, some of those guys are banged up and hurt right now, a lot more weapons to use and to utilize over in Houston than compared to a team like Carolina. But again, like you said, different situations. We've seen how many times a quarterback getting drafted to a particular team is either going to, help them out and have lots of success, or might, bring their demise.
How about Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen? If you put Patrick Mahomes on the Bills and Josh Allen on the Chiefs, are the Chiefs, is Andy Reid being talked about in the way that he's being talked about with Josh Allen as his quarterback? And are the Bills and Sean McDermott being talked about in a different light? And do the Bills have a Super Bowl at this point?
No, I'd say the Bills probably don't. I think Andy Reid's got a lot better of an offensive mind than McDermott. McDermott's, a defensive type guy, so obviously you're not going to have that. I think that synergy with a Patrick Mahomes that like an Andy Reid's going to have, because we saw what Andy Reid was able to do with Donovan McNabb in Philadelphia. And outside of having some good weapons for Donovan McNabb to pass the ball to, I mean, who knows what could have happened? I mean, the one year we got Terrell Owens, breaks his leg, we still get to the Super Bowl and lose by 3 points. So, I mean, if he's healthy, or Terrell Owens is there for more than one season, I mean, look at how stuff might have changed. Andy Reid might still be in Philadelphia.
Yeah. No, that's a good point, man. I think that the closest one is Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow. It would be really interesting to see Justin Herbert on the Cincinnati Bengals, having Jamar Chase, having T. Higgins.
Here's one. How about swapping Jalen and Tua?
Jalen and Tua? I
Play for the same teams, similar kind of guys in some respects.
I don't care who you put at quarterback. If they've got Tyreek Hill as their wide receiver, they're going to look good at least one of their years. But Tyreek Hill, right? I think that you make the Dolphins. I think that the Dolphins would be better with Jalen and the Eagles would be worse off with Tua. But Tua would still be in good position with the Eagles. But the thing what makes the Eagles so dangerous, in my opinion, and why they're not as dangerous this year, even though they still are very dangerous, I don't want you to take away from that, but why they aren't as dangerous this year is because last year it was, we're going to match your energy. However you want to play football, if we need to throw the ball, if we need to run the ball, whatever. This year they're having a little bit more of a struggle running the ball than what they were last year. If you go back to last year when they were able to run the ball well, then you didn't know, is Jalen Hurts going to be utilized in the run game as well? And then so now your defense is just spread out like spaghetti in their brain or something, you know? So I think that's what would make the Eagles not as good, as Tua's not as mobile as what Jalen is. So the run game would suffer because of that. But still, Tua would have A.J. Brown and they could get that quick release thing worked out over there. But I think that if you were to give me a choice for each of those quarterbacks, just out of Jalen and Tua, I think Tua is one of the most talented in the game when it comes to pinpoint accuracy and being quick and everything, but give me a stoic leader every single time in Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts with the intangibles. I mean, you can't match that. You know, the guy's leadership, his ability to, whether things are going great or bad, you know, he doesn't show it, you know, on his face or emotion-wise. The guy is just cool, calm, and collected, business as usual, just goes out there and does his thing. So, yeah, I would definitely take Jalen Hurts over anybody in the league right now. From what I've seen of the guy, I'm stoked to have him as the leader of my team.
What about Dak, though? Like, is this the year where the Cowboys, not just Dak, but they get past the first round of the playoffs?
I mean, maybe. I mean, you got to show me. I mean, how many times has this team had promise, or has the media and the talking heads thought that they've had promise? Because I think a lot of that times is phony. You know, it's just because it's Dallas, it's because it's Jerry Jones, and they get a lot of attention. They have a lot of people that's in the media, guys that commentate and announce these games as well. So they're always talked about in a positive way. You got to think Jerry Jones has got a lot of these guys still on the payroll, taking care of them one way or another. Like, hey, any chance you get to talk about us in a good light, definitely bring us up. You know, yada yada yada, which is a smart business move. Can't come, you know, anything wrong there. But I mean, enough's enough. You hear about him enough as it is. But yeah, I don't know. Dak Prescott. Like I said, he's got to show me more. You know, I mean, the team's got so much promise. They've had, you know, they got a lot of talent. You know, the years when they had like Zeke Elliott and he was running really great, what did they do? You know, nothing again. And Dak Prescott was part of the reason why. So because of that, I don't even get all the MVP talk really about him right now. I mean, sure, he's had a good stretch. He's been playing pretty well. But, I mean, really MVP? I don't know.
Man, those numbers are up there for Dak, and the race is wide open. There's a reality here where Lamar Jackson, I don't think Lamar's getting the love that he kind of deserves because Mark Andrews goes down. Yes, the defense is playing good, but they're still not like the Ravens defense that we know of old.
And it's tough for AFC they're playing in as well.
Yeah. And the numbers show just in the records in and of themselves that the AFC right now is a little bit tougher, but you're top heavy in the NFC right now with the Cowboys, with the Eagles, and with the 49ers. But guess what? You've got the Rams coming up playing really good football right now, and they showed just last week against the Ravens that they're not going to be a team that you can just walk all over. When Seattle even, and Seattle's got a tough one against the Seahawks or against the Eagles coming up this week. But Kenneth Walker gets back to full strength, and Geno Smith is good to go again. I mean, they can change the complexion, the implications of some of these playoff games here down the stretch, just like in fantasy football when we say put your best lineup in, put your best foot forward. Well, the Seahawks are not only a team who's vying for a playoff spot, but also a team who can change the playoff rankings right here, or the playoff standings right here.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, they're in the West. They're competing with the San Francisco 49ers in that division out there. Like you said, everything's still very wide open with having like 4 games left. Nobody has anything guaranteed just yet. You know, everybody's it's going to be based on their own merit. A lot of teams, it's up to their own selves. They decide their own destiny. And I like that because you're going to see playoff football being played in the next month now.
I'm still trying to figure out who's going to be that team, and we're not going to know this till week 17, really until the wild card round of the playoffs, but who's going to be that team that is, you know, clawing their way into that final 7th or 6th playoff spot in the AFC or the NFC that can be that Cincinnati Bengals team from a few years ago, that can be that even the St. Louis Rams or the Los Angeles Rams by that same very token who played the Cincinnati Bengals in that 2021 Super Bowl. Who's going to be that team? Because I question to some extent if the Giants can keep a winning streak going right now with a quarterback who has the name Tommy Cutlets, the nickname anyways. Yeah. I mean, maybe he could just take them to the Parmesan land.
I seen I was going to say I saw a great meme today where it showed like Tommy DeVito with his agent, and it said, like, you know, Tommy DeVito's agent looked exactly as I would think Tommy DeVito's agent would look like, because he looks kind of like a mobster. So
I think he just got like inducted into the Italian Sports Hall of Fame or something like that. I don't know. We'll double check that. You guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. Hour number 2 will start with a little NFL Week 15.
Take ESPN Northwest Florida with you everywhere you go.
anytime, anyplace, anywhere.
The sports talk and live play-by-play doesn't have to end when you get out of the car. The ESPN Northwest Florida app streams your favorite sports talk hosts and the biggest games in ultra-high fidelity.
This is of utmost importance in travel.
Take the sports talk monster with you anywhere you go. Available for Android and iPhone.
Use it anywhere or any place.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida with your Friday's weather. The rest of the day, there will be a moderate breeze out of the east-northeast, some clouds and 66. Mostly clouds tonight, a bit colder at 55. Tomorrow, overcast in the morning, followed by very heavy rain and a high of 63. The same at 63 Sunday, and we'll have a good chance of rain in the morning, but otherwise some clouds. This forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Hello, Tracy's Fine Jewelry.
Hello, Tracy. It's Santa. I'm so busy this year, I really could use your help.
Absolutely, Santa. I'm happy to help.
This year, I want to make sure everyone gets what they ask for, and I know Tracy's Fine Jewelry has the largest selection at the lowest prices.
We sure do, Santa. We have some of the hottest trending styles around, and our cases are packed full of great deals.
Ho, 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 Tracy, I knew you wouldn't let me down.
Folks, shop where Santa shops at Tracy's Fine Jewelry.
WGSX Lynn Haven, WVLQ Port St. Joe. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Your biggest investment is your home. Protect it while also improving its appearance with Earthworks of Northwest Florida. We have sand, mulch, gravel, or lay down decorative stone, all available for pickup and delivery. Discover your dream landscape with Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Imagine the moment you proudly pull up to your home that you've worked so hard for, enhanced by quality mulch, decorative stones, and more. Let's make it happen today. Request a quote online at earthworkspc.com or swing by the office at 2005 Industrial Drive. Love the land you live on.
You think you've been on your grind? The 11-year-old cashier at the Gin Gin puts in more hours than you.
Do any of you people do any actual work?
Just saying.
We might need to work on your sales pitch.
Less work and more play.
All right, show's over. Everybody back to work.
Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs, ESPN Northwest Florida.
Hour number 2 of the Afternoon Underdog starts now. You can call or text us at 850-215-6290. I'm David Hayes along with Caveman Rick and the Bone Crusher. We're going to get you guys caught up for NFL Week 15 with some betting nuggets and some bold predictions and all of that good stuff. And you can call or text again at 850-215-6290. As Todd texted in during the break there, Joe Brady calling plays for Mahomes, though. He's talking about if Mahomes and Josh Allen were to trade places. And, I mean, could you imagine that? Patrick Mahomes donning the jersey of the Buffalo Bills, donning that helmet, and then seeing Josh Allen. I think Patrick Mahomes would look better in Buffalo Bills colors than what Josh Allen would look in Reds colors. Like, that would be more awkward, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think you're right about that, but I think anybody pretty much looks like a clown. I hate to say it, and wearing the Kansas City stuff because, well, it's red and yellow. It's kind of like McDonald's, like Ronald McDonald, you know?
There you go. I think the most awkward of all of the ones that we threw out there, I think seeing that, like, it would be easier to see Jalen in Cowboys uniform than it would to see Dak in Eagles.
Man, they both would be ugly, man, seeing that. I mean, my guy Jalen wearing the star, I would hate that, and I don't want Dak wearing my colors.
So originally, when you brought up the uniform, I immediately thought of Kelly Green, right. Philadelphia Eagles. And my trivia question today, I wanted to try to tie into maybe with who's one of the front runners for NFL free agency, not front runners for this free agency class, but what we watched, or you know, what was on ESPN 30 for 30 last night, right? The
Minister of Defense.
The Minister of Defense, which is about Reggie White, which was a really good documentary on, I think they had it on ESPN2 last night.
The Deuce.
Yeah, that was a really good documentary. I watched, I missed about 20 minutes, had a little phone call. in between there. But yeah, that was a really good documentary, and you forget about how good Reggie and Reggie White was basically done playing by the time that I was really getting into football. But just watching his highlights and then just watching some of that from last night and how he was able to use the offensive lineman's center of gravity against themselves. I don't know if there's anyone who's ever played defense the way that Reggie White has, and I don't know if they're like, he made Aaron Donald look weak.
Yeah, and even J.J. Watt was saying in that documentary, like, greatest defensive player ever. I mean, he was the guy he tried to emulate when he was a kid.
I do hate how there's always a spin that people have to bring into anything, but that is what it is. You know what I mean? That's just the world that we live in these days, so it is what it is. Just you'll find out for yourself if you end up watching that documentary. But I would recommend it, though. I would definitely recommend watching it, especially if you're a fan of Reggie White, if you're a fan of the Eagles. It shined a really cool light on Jeremy White, which is Reggie White's son. The whole process of, the free agency, not sticking it out there, or not that he didn't stick it out there in Philly, but where he was going to go next and going to Green Bay, and how he helped out a lot of the players that were in his lives, but also Brett Favre being one of those guys, and just a big human being. And I mean that not just in his stature and his weight and everything, but more so in the heart of the man of Reggie White.
Oh, yeah, huge man, a big man, not like you said in stature, but like just as a human being, man. Just you can't say enough good things about the guy. And unfortunately, they always say, like, the good die young, right? And unfortunately, he left us way too soon. So, but it's kind of crazy, too, in that story, hearing about how the Green Bay Packers were able to woo him, to Green Bay. And, while
Red Lobster.
Yeah, all these big franchises are taking you out to the nicest, fanciest steakhouse or wherever to wine and dine you, if you will. And, I guess, too, because of Green Bay, I don't know what they had to offer, but hey, Red Lobster, if that's what works for you, baby.
There's the cheddar biscuits.
That's what Holmgren was saying, Mike Holmgren, the cheddar biscuits.
Yeah, man. Talk about a blow up, Mike Holmgren.
No doubt. But like you said,
I thought it was Andy Reid for a second.
Yeah. Well, and where did Andy Reid come from?
Great
Mike Holmgren
the
coaching tree.
Yeah. Absolutely. 5 teams who missed the postseason in 2022 are currently in a playoff position: Cleveland, Detroit, Green Bay, Indianapolis, and Pittsburgh. Since 1990, at least 4 teams have qualified for the playoffs in every season a year after missing the postseason. Overall, 72% of games, there's been 208 played to this point, 209 I think after last night. 149 of those were within one score, 8 points in the fourth quarter. That's the third most games through Week 14 in NFL history. A total of 55% of games, 115 out of the 208, were decided by 8 points or fewer. That would be 115 out of 209 now, because 63-21 was definitely not 8 points or fewer. That's also the third most games through Week 14 in NFL history. So this has been an historical NFL season. A lot of, yes, we have all of the injuries to the quarterbacks, but I don't care, man. And honestly, the quality of football, the only people who can sit here and talk to me about the quality of football are guys who played the game at the highest level. At the highest level. You know what I mean?
That's fair.
Well, because to me, it's not about the quality of the game, because I don't sit here and think that I can tell you, we love the past so much. We love nostalgia so much. So we're always going to yearn for the older things. So someone's going to say, it used to be better. But man, if you're going to sit here and put numbers in front of me and we're going to be talking about the difference in a percent, I'm not going to sit here and say, well, football definitely used to be better. Now, tackling and stuff like that. But as far as the competition on the field, to me, the quality of football being played doesn't matter as far as the quality of competition. So if we're evenly matched, I am just fine with that. And this season has shown this year that it is definitely evenly matched.
Definitely. Lots of parity. I would agree exactly 100% with what you just said, Dave, and echo it all day long. The one thing I would say, though, that I have a problem with that is the quality of officiating lately.
Yes.
And that's taking away from the great football.
And so with quality of officiating, is less more?
Yeah, I think so. It's just like government, man. Less is more. the less oversight and the less kind of stuff that you have, at times I think it's better. I think they're kind of micromanaging a lot of this stuff. I mean, we've seen, how they're, knocking down the practices and they're knocking down the contact at these practices. We're seeing people get hurt more when there was a lot more physicality back in the day, a lot more preseason, and guys were just, banging and hitting more often, a lot less injuries. And we're seeing people go down left and right. So I just think, these changes that they're making, I don't want to say, making everybody soft, but I mean, what else is it? I mean, it can't just be that all of a sudden, just coincidentally, people just getting hurt more left and right. There's got to be, a reason for it. And what has changed recently, you've added, an extra game. You're playing on Thursdays now, and then you've taken away, like I said, some of the practice and hitting. And I think all that coming together to a head is what we're seeing right now.
Well, and then, and one of the bigger things I would imagine is that when they're practicing, they're not hitting.
Exactly.
And so, so your body is not as used to it as when you're doing it all the time. So you open yourself up for injury there. Chef Chris says, so does the college football playoff committee. And what you just said, I think I'm not entirely sure what he's talking about. I think he's referring to me saying, I don't really care about the quality of football. I just want quality competition at that point. And Chef Chris, I don't know if you've heard me, but I'm on the side that, dude, like they can sit there and set the matchups up all they want, but that's wrong. End of the day, Florida State should have been in the college football playoff. I don't care if it was going to be a massacre in game 1. I don't care if it was going to be a massacre in game 2. You don't set these things up for entertainment purposes when a team won them. There's a big difference in UCF and Liberty going 12-0. At the end of the day, it takes you back to 2013 to some extent, right? Where Florida State did, or not 2013, but 2014, the year after you guys won the national championship against Auburn, where the next year you're going undefeated, but each game, each week, they're kind of dropping you guys back further and further in the rankings, and you're winning ball games. My thing is, if you're winning, man, you're getting the job done. Now, if Florida State and Alabama got on the field, who knows what would have happened? My biggest thing is they're sitting there talking about a third-string quarterback. A third-string quarterback wasn't going to be playing that deep into the year. It was going to be Tate Rodemaker because they had a whole month to get ready for that game. So even more so, the defense got them to that point after Jordan Travis went down. So should have been that, but shoulda, coulda, woulda. I mean, at the end of the day, now we have had the, there's been Rick Scott saying that he wants a transparent, I don't know, report
but these are people
from the
fishing
committee.
For votes,
I'm with you on that. I'm just saying that Bill Hancock has responded now. In a letter, he sent that today. He told Scott that the decision to rank Florida State number 5 was based on 2 principal reasons. The protocol the committee uses requires it to take injuries into consideration, and it determined Jordan Travis's season-ending injury caused the committee to believe that there were indeed 4 teams that should rank higher than FSU. In addition, he said that the Seminoles' strength of schedule was not as strong as those of the 4 teams ranked above them in number 1 Michigan, number 2 Washington, number 3 Texas, and number 4 Alabama. So
what I would have to say to that, though, is, okay, if you came down to the decision where you needed to break a tie between a couple of teams on who we should get in, okay, if you had 2 teams that were undefeated or just whatever the situation is, then I think that's where you might decide, okay, well, this team's got a better following. This team will travel better for the entertainment value.
Yeah,
then,
if they're tied.
If they're tied, then use that as your tiebreaker. That way, because it's more money, it's more just, publicity, more sizzle, whatever you want to call it, right? But until
makes sense if there's a tie.
And if you get to that point, then I can understand that. But if you don't have that, then, yeah, it's kind of a farce.
Well, and right, because if anything, it should have been battling for the 4th spot, should have been Alabama and Texas, and that conversation is null and void.
Or have a play-in game.
Well, right, but you can't have a play-in game between Alabama and Texas, and why can't you have a play-in game for that? Because then you're going to need a third one if Alabama wins.
Yeah, because they've already played one.
Because Texas has already got the head-to-head.
Right. But I'm just saying, if you had 4 and 5, and 5, if FSU was the lone team sitting out, then you have them play 4, and then the winner stays, and then the loser goes. And
what they should have done, knowing that this was the final year of the 4-team playoff, next year goes to 12. They should have had an emergency, either play-in game. But, I mean, Georgia, Ohio State, Florida State, those are three teams that were just as deserving as any other team.
Then you could argue Liberty because they were undefeated.
You can argue Liberty in there. I mean, you can. It's just you talk about a schedule drop off from Florida State. Like that's where you can't. That's why the schedule does somewhat matter because we can talk about the ACC and our perception of them not being up there, but the reality is the numbers prove otherwise.
Right. But I mean, if you're playing in a different conference as well, you're playing the Sun Belt, you're playing in the AAC or just wherever you're at. I mean, you can only play against the competition that you're up against, and that competition in that conference is on par with you. So if you go undefeated in your conference, I mean, that says a lot. You know,
that's on par with you, though, right? But they're not on par with the other guys. Like
maybe so, but I mean, like you're not in that conference though, and you can't be. But like, you know what I'm saying? Because if you go by what maybe you're saying there, then a team that goes undefeated in any one of those conferences just isn't getting a shot or no fair shake.
Right, and and that's why you can call me elitist all you want, but that's why there needs to be a separate entity for there needs to be a break between the Power 5 and the Group of 5. Now, they can be they could be one of those players who's playing up, right? Like if you got a T-baller or whatever, and he's a little bit too good for T-ball, so put him in coach pitch or whatever. Right. Well, have these G5 teams, they're playing for a championship, but they can opt, all right? So it's like this, you're the number one overall G5 team. You can either take the 12th seed in the college football playoff, which I think every team who has the opportunity to do that should do that, or you can say, you know what, we'll go play in this playoff over here.
Yeah.
You know? Give them the opportunity of that, and then so you can either win your G5, your Group of 5 championship, or you can take your chances here and pull yourself out of the G5 championship and try to win the Power 5 championship, which it'll eventually be Power 2 championship.
I mean, that's fair because then, I mean, if you do decide to do that, I mean, it might help your school to get notoriety, help out recruiting and such if you get to be on that bigger stage.
Yeah, but there's no comparing a team who's and again, it's not their fault, but we can't. TCU makes sense because it's Power 5. Cincinnati even was like one of those ones where they had a really good roster.
But just because you're Power 5 doesn't mean you got like a kick-ass roster. It doesn't mean that you're not going to lose
it's
to a lesser
schedule though.
school.
But what I'm talking about is schedule though. Right. That's where you can make your comparisons though with the Power 5 is all right. Well, the 8 conference games or the 8 or 9 conference games that this team is playing is comparable to this. Whereas if you go down the list in Liberty and if you put Iowa State playing Liberty's schedule, they might go undefeated.
Yeah,
so that takes away from what Liberty was able to accomplish.
Also, nobody's scrutinizing that schedule that like somebody Liberty played as finely as they are like Georgia or Florida State too. Yeah. So if people were to pay it more closer attention to, there might be some more similarities there, but unfortunately nobody's going to take the time to do that.
Well, that's true, but all right, the reality of it though is if like take an Iowa State and put them in Liberty's position, and you can make the argument that every single game Iowa State's going to be favored in. Will they win? Who knows? But they'll be favored in. And with that, I mean, and all you can do is play the what-if game with all of that. And so I wish, and that's why I think, you know, all of us, we're loving the fact that we're about to have a 12-team a 12-team playoff. But I think a lot of us would like to know that the reason that these teams are getting in is not based on the popularity contest, is not based on, you know, a panel of 13 people voting, but there was a process like the NFL, right? There is a process that gets you to the playoffs. And so you prove that you're good, just the same way that this year Florida State proved that record-wise, they were one of the 4 best teams this year. And with that being said, and not only that, they got the ACC championship to go along with that.
You know, now, I just think if they're going to do it, they need to find a better way of doing it. This committee thing and the people changing in the committee too, like every year, you're never going to have it consistent. They need to find either like some kind of entity, some czar of college football that is very consistent, the same kind of people, pick some younger folks maybe that could be around for a very long time. That way, you know, you don't have to worry about them getting up in age, having health concerns, and then not having to be there and having to find replacements. And then if you do something like that, I think in the long term, in the long run, you end up making, I think, a lot of people more happier because they'll kind of know what to expect already.
I love that idea. So here's what I'll propose to you. Maybe you'll like this idea as well. All right. Nick Saban and Alabama win the national title. Nick Saban retires. Bill Belichick retires or gets fired from the New England Patriots. Bill Belichick Nick Saban run the college football playoff?
No.
Come on, man.
You're an Alabama fan. There's going to be tons of Alabama bias on that panel.
Right, that's the whole point. That's exactly what I'm saying. I want more situations like this. Right. I want more drama in the future.
Actually, I think what would be fair if you're going to like govern the Power 5 schools, like the Alabamas of the world, the Ohio States, Michigans, USCs, get some people that weren't part of that, and some of the smaller, conferences, some of the smaller divisions, and have them be the ones. They still know football. They still know the game. They just don't have any attachments to these bigger, schools and whatever.
So let the Power 5 committee do the G5
maybe
committee.
So. That way there's no allegiances there, and you don't have any,
But you know that there's still going to be allegiances, though.
Maybe so. I mean,
there is, though, because those guys have ties with these
everything's going to be skewed, but at least there's not, direct lines where, you could say Nick Saban came in the SEC and he's a Bama guy, and that's the reason why he's voting for Alabama.
Well, Nick Saban, I get you, because Nick Saban's not on that committee, but there were 3 seats on that committee that were held by ACC teams. And I think that one of the things that Florida State fans do, and it's conspiracy, but it's also the way that Florida State was at the beginning of this year saying, we are the ACC, us and Clemson. If it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be making this money. And so they're talking about wanting to get out of the ACC.
And they held up the 12 team.
And the conference held up the 12 teams. So if it wasn't for that, the ACC, the Big Ten, and I believe the Pac-12 at that point with their historical alliance, had they not done that, then we'd be in for one of the best playoffs, because I don't think that we can sit here and say that college football is going to be in this predicament next year. And what I don't mean this voting predicament. I mean, I don't know if we're going to be as stacked where we're 8 teams deep, 9 teams deep of teams who have a realistic shot at taking any team down.
Actually, I might argue that with the transfer portal and NIL and everything, we've seen a lot more parity. And I think as time goes by, I think people are going to find out how to navigate the transfer portal a little bit better and navigate NIL a little bit better. And I think, might end up leveling it out a little bit more. We have seen it, the last couple of seasons. It seems to have kind of leveled it out some. I don't give it a little bit more time.
And I don't disagree with you that it could be. What I'm saying is, it's once in a blue moon that we have these situations, these seasons right here that are as stacked at the top as they are. Normally, you've got your top 2, top 4 teams, really top 2, maybe 3, and then you get that drop off. Whereas this year, there just wasn't as stark as a drop off. Now, however, what is the reasoning behind that? The transfer portal, NIL, all of that good stuff. So I don't think that I'm not saying that you're wrong by any. And I love the. I love that you disagree with it, because what I'm getting at is we can't guarantee that it's going to be better next year.
No, but I think college football is going to be in a better spot next year, because you're not going to have to argue about this. You're going to have the 12 spots. You're going to be arguing about 13 and 14, but who cares at that point? Because like you're saying, it's really not going to matter at that point.
I don't want to stop until we're arguing about who the 64th team getting into the college football playoff is.
I mean, that sounds fun and sounds fair. It's going to be a while, and I don't think we're ever going to get there.
I don't know. Who would have thought that we'd be at 68 or 72, or what are we going to be at 108 in college basketball coming up this season?
Yeah, but
I'm being facetious.
I hear you. Unfortunately, man, it's not going to happen, but it would be kind of cool. To see a big, tournament like that, man, it'd be ugly too.
Yeah, it would be ugly. There would be a lot of blowouts in that game. You guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. We might dive into NFL Week 15 when we get back, and we'll be right back.
ESPN Northwest Florida. Afternoon Underdogs.
Do you think as many people are as interested now in the Florida State-Georgia game as what they would have been? And not people, but players primarily. You see what I'm saying? If they know that they're in the college football playoff, then all of a sudden you've got more players and eyes on that, and it's like you watch them get blown out there, and it stings a little bit.
4 to 6 weekdays. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good evening. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. For tonight, cloudy and a low of 56 with wind 10 to 15 miles per hour out of the east. A variety of very light rain and clouds tomorrow morning, a moderate breeze and quite warm near 62. Isolated thunderstorms and sprinkles and 63 in the afternoon and evening. 64 and a good chance of rain in the morning and then some clouds Sunday. This is your Friday's weather brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, this is Tim.
Do y'all sell bait?
Yes, we seasonally stock live shrimp, live bull minnows, live sand fleas, live fiddler crabs, earthworms, night crawlers, crickets. We also stock frozen shrimp, sand fleas, mullets, squid, pre-rigged ballyhoo, bonita, stingray, cigar minnows, Boston mackerel, Spanish mackerel, and a few other miscellaneous baits. It's worth the drive to buy premium locally sourced bait from Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, located directly off Highway 98 on the west end of Panama City Beach.
Hey folks, Chris Kramer with Bill Kramer GM. And the best place to listen to the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey is inside a brand new vehicle from Bill Kramer GM. And I want you to know we've got 10 times the amount of inventory on the ground as we did this time last year, and darn near all of them are discounted. So shop us online at BillKramerGM.com or visit us at the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd. We'll make it easy and take great care of you.
Kevin Harlan here from Westwood One, and coming up Monday, it's the Seahawks hosting the Eagles. At 10-3, quarterback Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia have seen their hopes for the top NFC playoff seed put in jeopardy with back-to-back losses. Now they travel to one of the toughest road settings to face the Seahawks. Join me and Hall of Fame quarterback Kurt Warner from Seattle for Monday Night Football.
Coverage starts at 6:30, kickoff at 7:15, right here on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Often imitated, never duplicated. The official sports station of the Panhandle. Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
It is not the final segment of the afternoon. We got one more after this one, but we are inching a little bit closer as we get ready for NFL Week 15 here on the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes along with Caveman Rick and the Bone Crusher. You can call or text us today at 850-215-6290. Give me some bold predictions for some of these games. Just text them to us at 850-215-6290. Starting tomorrow, coverage starting at 11:30 for a 12 p.m. kickoff. We're going to have the Vikings at the Bengals. Both of those teams coming in at 7 and 6. Then we're going to have the Colts and the Steelers following that game. And the nightcap is going to be the Broncos and the Lions. So a good little slate there for Saturday football. There's going to be bowl games on and all of that good stuff. We won't have any on the air here as we're going to have the triple header for Saturday NFL football and Sunday as well, which I believe we're going to have the Bucks and the Packers. We're going to have the Commanders and the Rams. Then we'll wrap it up. Sunday Night Football is going to be the Ravens and the Jaguars. So hopefully the Ravens can help those Tennessee Titans out with a win over the Jacksonville Jaguars. But tomorrow, Vikings, Bengals, 7 and 6. Both teams are, and the Bengals being a 3-point favorite. Storyline to watch, according to this ESPN article, but it's absolute, right? What do you think the storyline to watch is in this game?
In the Bengals game?
Yeah, Bengals-Vikings.
Storyline, I don't know. Probably, what's his face, the third quarterback
Jake
for the
Brown?
Vikings.
Oh, okay. Well, that's Josh Dobbs.
Oh, Dobbs is coming back now?
He's QB3.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, so the third guy is going to be the starting guy now.
Nick Mullins is QB1. Nick Mullins is QB1. Yeah. Then QB2 is back to Jaron Hall, who originally was the starting quarterback when they signed Josh Dobbs, and then he got concussed, and then dropped down to 3 is Josh Dobbs.
Yeah, I think Mullins maybe, because we've seen Browning. He's playing pretty good. I don't know what the news is there. I mean, just whether or not he can keep it rolling or not.
So coming off of back-to-back wins, quarterback Jake Browning, they're going to have to contend with, and this is surprising to me reading this, which is why I love to read. The Vikings are one of the best defenses in the league in this weekend's matchup. Over the past 8 weeks, the Vikings have led the NFL in the fewest points allowed per drive at 1.4 and the fewest points allowed per game at 15.3, and that's because they are stingy in the red zone. So the storyline to watch is Jake Browning and the Bengals offense going up against the stingy Vikings red zone defense. Now, their bold prediction, I want to get your take on this, is TJ Hawkinson catching at least 8 passes. The Bengals defense has allowed more receptions and yards to tight ends than any other team, and Hawk leads the NFL in catches by tight ends with 85, and he's second in yards. So do you think TJ Hawkinson will catch at least 8 passes?
I would have to say no based off the fact that this is Nick Mullins. You don't have Kirk Cousins. You don't have Dobbs throwing the ball. I'm basing this off of them getting their numbers probably based off of all of his previous numbers that have come from having basically better quarterback throwing the football. So based off of that, I don't think he's going to have as good of a rapport with Hawkinson because they're probably not doing the first team reps very often. So because of that, I'm going to say no. I think he'll have a better rapport with somebody else.
Here's a stat to know. I don't know if he's going to get 8 catches, but I think he's going to have a ton of yards. A stat to know, the Bengals are 4-0 against NFC teams this season. They've won 8 straight against the NFC, which is tied with the Ravens for the longest active win streak against non-conference opponents, and it's tied for the longest streak in franchise history. And your betting nugget, the Vikings 4-0 against the spread in their past 4 games as an underdog. We'll be making our picks for these games here in the next segment as we move on to the second game on Saturday's slate. Steelers and the Colts. Again, both of these teams sitting at 7-6, and the Colts are a 1.5-point favorite with a 42.5-point total. The storyline to watch, the Steelers have won 8 straight games against the Colts, including regular season and postseason games, and that streak began in 2011. The last time that the Colts won was in 2008 when Peyton Manning was under center. Mike Tomlin, hired in 2007, is 8-1 against the Colts, and he has never lost at Lucas Oil Stadium.
Something's got to give.
So you think this? I mean, we're talking about 2 things that's got to give. He's never lost on the road to the Colts, and then also he's never had a season where he's finished under 500. Is this the year that the Steelers finish under 500?
I don't know about that. I mean, you can't get to 500 now because we have
that's true. All right, well, but still.
So I'm just saying,
less than 500.
So it's either going to be over or under. So if I had to pick, I'd probably say this might be their first year. I mean, a long enough timeline, something like this is probably going to happen. I doubt Tomlin's going to go his whole career without having a losing season. Right now, I think the Colts, they're in a better position than the Steelers right now. So I think because of that, I think they're going to probably come out and play harder. The Steelers have a lot less to play for. So I got more faith in Minshew than I do have Kenny Pickett as well.
They are on the road for 3 of their last 4. Colts this week. Then they got the Bengals at the house next week, also on Saturday. Then the final week of the 2023 year, they're on the road taking on the Seahawks, and they wrap the season up January 7th on the road against the Ravens. A betting nugget for this game, 5 of the 6 Colts home games have gone over the total this year. That total is sitting at 42.5. The nightcap is the Broncos at the Lions. Broncos come in with a record of 7-6. The Lions 9-4. They'll kick this one off at 7:15. The Lions a 4-point favorite with a point total of 47.5. The Lions have lost 2 of their past 3 games, and the Broncos have won 6 of their past 7, and they're only 1 game right now behind the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC West. It's also going to be a reunion of sorts for the Lions head coach and Dan Campbell and his mentor, Sean Payton, who's coaching over there with the Denver Broncos. Campbell spent 5 seasons on Payton's staff as an assistant head coach from 2016 to 2020, and he also played for teams that Sean Payton coached. So that is the storyline to watch there, a little gamesmanship, coachmanship there between Sean Payton and Dan Campbell. And the betting nugget for this game, the Lions 31-16 against the spread under Campbell. That is good for second best since 2021. Guess what team they're behind, Caveman Rick?
Let's see.
31-16 against the spread under Dan Campbell, and it's the second best record against the spread since 2021. Only behind one
Yeah, I'm trying
team.
to think of a team that was questionable about playing well, and then they actually did pretty good. So, how about...
No asterisk on their helmet, but a star.
Yeah, I guess Dallas.
Dallas Cowboys. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are right.
Oh, why?
That's going to be... I'm excited for that game, though. Lions-Broncos is it's definitely my favorite game from Saturday, but I think it might be one of the better games from the entire slate here of NFL Week 15. Bucks at Packers. This is a big game for the NFC. Both teams at 6-7. We'll start this one for what's at stake. Tampa Bay seeking the NFC South title, and with a win, it would boost to 49% chance to win the NFC South. It would also give the Bucks a 65% chance to make the playoffs. If they were to lose to Green Bay, that knocks their divisional hopes down to 26% chance and their playoff chances to 29% chance. The Packers, they could get up to 65% chance to make the playoffs with a win, but if they lose again, that would be a second straight loss to a sub-500 team, and that would slide them down to 26%. A 26% chance just to make the playoffs. In a storyline, this is the third straight year Baker has come to Lambeau Field with his third different team. I don't know how many commercials he's made during that time. He's combined to throw 5 interceptions, 4 of those in 2021 with the Browns, and then 1 last year when he was with the Rams in those 2 games. But the Packers have intercepted the ball only 6 times this season, including just once in the past 5 games. So Baker Mayfield and his tendency to turn the ball over in Lambeau going up against a Packers defense that does not have a great tendency at creating turnovers.
Yeah, I still think the Packers have a better shot in this one, being at Lambeau and being at home. I mean, we're already in December. You got a team from, Central Florida that's going to be traveling up there. Even though Baker Mayfield has played, in Cleveland, he's played in inclement weather. He knows how to do that. I just like the Packers in this one. I think they want it more, too. I think it's going to help their chances, too, of making the playoffs. So you got a hungrier team trying to make it in. Jordan Love's playing pretty good with a lot of other youth on that team. So, yeah, give me the Packers in this one. I think they handle business.
I like that pick there. And a betting nugget for this game, the Packers have won and covered 3 straight home games. Their last home game that they got that W in was on Sunday Night Football against the Chiefs just 2 weeks ago. Texans at the Titans. Do we even want to dive into this one?
I mean, you can, but what more are you going to talk about?
We don't got a whole lot of
CJ
time.
Stroud probably ain't going to start, so
we'll give them a bet nugget for it. How about that? The Titans are 2-6 outright against this and against the spread against teams currently with winning records. So it does not bode well for the Tennessee Titans, but they will be without CJ Stroud in that one. Jets and Dolphins, kind of the same thing. We'll get a bold prediction here from the author of this article. He says that Jets quarterback Zach Wilson will perform better against the Dolphins than Tim Boyle did 3 weeks ago, but will not come close to duplicating his career best game from last week. So we'll have a good game, better than Tim Boyle, but it will not be anything close to what he was able to do last week against the Texans. You agree or disagree with that bold prediction?
I would agree. I mean, the Dolphins are going against the team with the losing record. We've seen the Dolphins play really well against teams with losing records. Teams with winning records, they don't do so hot. So if everything holds true, they should handle the Jets probably fairly easy. Like I said, after the big win the Jets had this last week, too, I think there'll be a little bit of a letdown there. Hence, I think that'll help the Dolphins, win this one easily.
Yeah, I disagree with it both ways because I don't think Zach Wilson is going to have that great of a game. I think it'll be impressive maybe by the standards of what we expect, what we've come to expect from Zach Wilson, but I think the Dolphins are going to handle business because that chip on their shoulder is quite large there from last week. Aaron Rodgers too, man. If the Jets do come away with a win here, we could be get a little bit closer to the emergence of Aaron Rodgers. Giants and Saints is actually kind of a big game. Giants ain't got no shot to win the NFC East, but they still are not eliminated from playoff contention, and the Saints are in a 3-team stack right now in the NFC South. At 6-7. Now the Saints are a 6-point favorite, and the total is sitting at 39.5. A stat for you to know: Tommy DeVito, the Giants quarterback, has 7 passing touchdowns in 4 career starts, tied for the second most passing touchdowns by a player through their first 4 starts with the Giants since quarterback starts were first tracked back in 1950, and he only trails Professor Plum's one of his favorite quarterbacks of all time, Fran Tarkenton's 8 passing touchdowns back in 1967. The betting nugget for this one, and this one's important, the Saints are 1-5 against the spread at home this season. So what I like here, I like the Saints to win this game, but I like the Giants to stick within the spread. So that spread sitting there at 6 points. I mean, we saw the Giants have a good game against the Packers last week. I think that they stick within the 6 in this game going up against the Saints. Chiefs-Patriots, not a whole lot to talk about there. The Patriots are a 7.5-point dog for a 37.5-point total. The betting nugget for this one, the Patriots are 3-10 against the spread this season, the worst cover percentage in the NFL.
The Chiefs better look out in this one, I think. And Bill Belichick, they have all that talk about this being his last year. I wouldn't be surprised if for some reason he wants to make a statement and let everybody know, like, hey, don't forget about me, or, hey, this other team that you guys think is so great. I don't want to say do anything kind of like, dirty. We have seen some of the stuff the Patriots have done in the past, like some of their shenanigans. So I wouldn't put it past him having something up his sleeve potentially. But, just look out.
Look out, he says. Cowboys at the Bills. The Bills are a 2-point favorite at the house. Now, they come in with a record of 7-6. The Cowboys with a record of 10-3. The total is sitting at 50.5. And this is a huge game. A lot of playoff implications on the line, but it could also come down to which defense, who's dealing with injuries, can make some big stops against good offenses in this game. The Cowboys offense leads the NFL in points per game at 32.4, and the Bills come in at 5th at 26.8. And the betting nugget for this one, the Bills are 2-7 against the spread in their past 9 games, and the unders are 5-1 in the Bills' past 6 games. Who do you think has the better game in this one? Is it going to be Dak Prescott or Josh Allen?
I'm going to say Josh Allen. It's at home. It's in Buffalo. I think there might be some inclement weather. They said it's going to be kind of cold, not snow, but maybe some rain, so cold and wet. You got a Dallas team that likes to play on a track at home. They're undefeated at home. They're a 500 team on the road. So I think, having to go up to Buffalo in those conditions, that's probably not going to bode well for Dallas. It's going to hurt their game. So because of that, and the fact that, the Bills, they just they need to win to get into the playoffs. They're probably going to be one of the scarier teams if they do make it into the playoffs because of all the talent that they have on that team. And then when they do get it clicking right, that team can be scary and they can put some points up. We have seen in the past. So I'm going to say that the Bills have the edge in this game.
For the Cowboys, a win would mean that it's got a 44% chance to take the NFC East and a 19% chance to finish with the number 1 seed. But if they were to lose, those numbers would be 20% to win the East and 3% to win the number 1 seed. The Bills could not just be chasing the playoffs. They would get 66% chance to make the playoffs if they were to win, 30% chance if they were to lose. But there still remains an opportunity to win the AFC East. If they were to win this game, they've got a 34% chance to win the East and just a 13% chance with a loss. You guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. A quick local recap, and then we make our picks here for Week 15 when we return.
ESPN Northwest Florida. It's the Coach James Hale Show.
He's supporting FSU. Just do it.
He might be on the FBI watch. Now, I follow Coach Manley on his Facebook, and I got to say,
Coach Manley's an alias. I am on the witness protection.
I'm just laughing at the notion that you had a train of thought.
Hey, that's pretty good. I like that. Very good.
Weekday mornings 7 to 9. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good evening. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. For tonight, cloudy and a low of 56 with wind 10 to 15 miles per hour out of the east. A variety of very light rain and clouds tomorrow morning, a moderate breeze and quite warm near 62. Isolated thunderstorms and sprinkles and 63 in the afternoon and evening. 64 and a good chance of rain in the morning and then some clouds Sunday. This is your Friday's weather brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
PCB Hobby, the beach's premier hobby store for sports cards, comics, coins, and trading card games. PCB Hobby carries the largest selection of boxes and packs from the latest releases of brands like Topps, Panini, Leaf, and more. Looking for a specific player or team? PCB Hobby has a wide assortment of raw and graded cards. They carry parallel rookie, game used, and autographed cards in both modern and vintage. Have a collection you want to sell? We buy, sell, and trade. PCB Hobby on Back Beach Road, just east of Florida Linen. Call 850-320-8388.
Are you tired of hearing 2 weeks when you call to get your boat worked on? Hey folks, it's Chris Kramer with Kramer Marine and Outdoor, and we'll get you in and back out on the water as quick as possible. We're a full-line Yamaha outboard dealer and Suzuki outboard dealer, and we have master-trained certified mechanics on site. So if it's just an annual service, electronics install, trolling motor install, or all the way up to a full repower, we can take care of you. So stop by and see us in the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd next to Bill Kramer GM, or call us at 850-851-0453.
It moves fast. The High School Spotlight. Weekdays at 5:40.
Let's do it.
Sponsored by Barbaritos. ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we are back for the final segment of the week here on ESPN Northwest Florida. You guys have been riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes, along with Caveman Rick and the Bone Crusher. You can call or text in this final segment at 850-215-6290. The Coach James Hale Show, as far as I know, will be live Monday at 7 a.m. And the Ryan Mulvey Show, the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey and Jay Henley, will be live from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Haven't figured out what the holiday schedule is going to be like for everyone around here, but I do think everyone will be here Monday. I know we'll be here Monday at 4. We're going to have Coach Brian Haddad on with us. We'll have the PCB Hobby Takeover with Todd Mueller. Steve Barnes will join us at 5 o'clock. And then at 5:40, we will have Lexi Griffin on with us. I believe she played soccer over there at Arnold, but now she's playing D1 soccer at Southern Miss. So that should be a fun interview there as we go over our local segment. That's brought to you by Barbaritos. Visit Barbaritos on 23rd Street. Tell them that the Underdog sent you. Barbaritos, food, community, people. Caveman Rick, why don't you hit us with all of these scores right here, and then I will take over with the games that are going to be going on tonight.
Right on. So in JUCO basketball girls, we had Gulf Coast take down Columbia State 103-48. In high school basketball girls, we have Rutherford taking down Graceville 72-47. Arnold beats Franklin 45-22. Walton beating Bethlehem 43-37. We have Fort Walton Beach winning against Niceville 43-36, and Paxton wins over Baker 53-21. In high school boys basketball, Sneads beats Walton 56-43. Chipley takes down Poplar Springs 60-49. Niceville beating Pine Forest in a close one 37-36. Alpha all over Osceola Christian 66-26. Wiregrass losing to a close one at Graceville 53-61, and Rehoboth losing to Malone 63-56. In high school girls soccer, we have Mosley beating Leon 4-1, and on the boys side, we have Mosley and Bay playing to a 1-1 draw. South Walton taking down Walton 1-0, and East Hill Christian losing to North Bay Haven 6-0.
All right, and the games tonight in boys high school basketball, Niceville comes in with a record of 3-5. They'll be hosting Fort Walton Beach, who's 3-6. That game will tip at 6:30. Bozeman is undefeated at 8-0. They're taking on Arnold 2-4. Bozeman will host. That game tips tonight at 6:45. Bluntstown is undefeated at 3-0. They're hosting 7-0 Sneads, and that game tips at 6:45. Rutherford is 3-4. They're hosting 1-5 Leon. That game starts at 7 p.m. And then Wakulla is 3-3. They travel to 0-8 North Bay Haven. That game tips at 7:30. Weewaw is 1-6. They travel to Osceola Christian, who's 4-4. That game tips at 7:30. South Walton is 5-3. They're traveling to 4-2 Destin. That game tips at 7:30. Mosley is 6-2, and they will be visiting Bay, who is 3-4, and they tip that one off tonight at 7:30 as Cottondale Citadel is 4-4, and they will be traveling to Wiregrass, who is 8-4. That game starts tonight at 7:30. Then in girls high school basketball tonight, we've got Mariana hosting Walton at 5:30. Covenant hosting Alethea Christian Academy at 5:30. Freeport hosting Destin at 6 p.m. Osceola Christian hosting Weewaw at 6 p.m. Then Choctaw hosts Niceville at 6:30. Franklin County hosting Wakulla at 6 p.m. Arnold is 4-3. They're hosting 6-1 Rutherford. They'll tip that off tonight at 6:30. And then Mosley, they are 5-4. Bay is 3-5. Mosley will host Bay tonight at 7 p.m. Then in boys high school soccer tonight, Gulf Breeze hosting Niceville at 7 p.m. Bozeman hosts Destin at 7 p.m. And Mariana hosts Pensacola Catholic tonight at 7 p.m. And in girls high school soccer, Rutherford hosting Arnold. That game started at 5 p.m. Bozeman hosting Destin. That game started at 5. And again, I don't know if it's Bozeman or Franklin County tonight for girls high school soccer, because Max Preps has got them playing them both at 5 p.m. Might be a little split squad action, as North Bay Haven, their girls they are 6-3. They're hosting 2-3-3 Milton at 5 p.m. Let's dive into our picks here. We've only got 10 minutes before the show is over for the week. Last night we had the Chargers and the Raiders. Bone Crusher, who'd you have in that game?
Raiders.
Nice. Good pick for you right there. We'll move on to the first game of our Saturday slate here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Coverage starts at 11:30, and we'll kick it off at 12 p.m. Vikings at the Bengals. Bengals are a 3.5-point favorite. Total sitting at 39.5. Give me Jake Browning. I've got the Bengals coming away with a win in this one.
Yeah, same here. Give me Jake Browning. Got more faith in him and whatever quarterback the Vikings are going to be starting. So Bengals all day.
Bengals at home.
All right. Steelers at the Colts. This follows the Vikings and the Bengals. Colts are a 2.5-point favorite. Total sitting at 42.5. I think that the Colts are going to win this game, but like what we were talking about earlier, the Steelers really need this if they're going to have any opportunity at finishing above 500. Give me the Steelers to win this one.
All right, not me. Give me the Colts. I got more faith in Uncle Rico, man, Gardner Minshew, and his ability to lead the Colts. So they're at home too. So give me the Colts.
Yeah, Colts.
I like that. Good picks by y'all. I'll probably be taking a loss in that one. Broncos at the Lions. This is a huge one. Lions are a 4-point favorite. Total sitting at 46.5. This is the final game of the Saturday slate here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Coverage will follow the Steelers at the Colts. I got to go with Jared Goff in the line to bounce back in this one.
Yeah, hard for me to pick them bouncing back. The Broncos have been playing really good. I think finally Sean Payton knows what he's doing. He knows what kind of a team he has.
He found that groove again.
Yeah, and I mean the Lions, it's two different teams going in two different directions right now. Broncos are ascending, Lions are kind of descending, so I'm going to go with the ascending team. Give me the Broncos on the road.
Great take. Going with the Broncos.
Bucks at the Packers. Packers are a 3.5-point favorite at the house. 42.5 is the point total. This will be our Sunday game here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Go Pack, go. I've got Jordan Love in the pack here.
Yeah, I'm taking the home team. Like I said, again, you got a mid, Florida team, going up to, frozen tundra, Lambeau Field. I don't know what the weather's going to be like. Definitely know it's going to be cold,
I think it's going to be like 40 degrees.
So, with it being chilly and whatnot, and I like the way Jordan Love's been playing with those young wide receivers and whatnot he's got going on. So give me the Packers at home.
Tampa Bay still high from their come-from-behind win against my Falcons last week, and I think they're going to roll against the Packers.
I like that. Texans at the Titans, little AFC South battle. The Titans are actually a 1.5-point favorite. A lot of that has to do with C.J. Stroud being doubtful for this game. The total is sitting at 37.5. I'm going to take Will Levis and the Titans in this game just because of no C.J. Stroud, no Tank Dell. We don't know the latest on Nico Collins, so it's really going to be up to Davis Mills and Devin Singletary at that point. I think the Titans know that they're in a position where they actually still can win the AFC South, but they essentially will have to win out. The Titans win this game, but it's very close.
Yeah, I'm taking the Titans as well. You got Will Levis, Derrick Henry. They've been playing pretty well for the most part. The Texans, though, without C.J. Stroud more than likely. And even if he is able to go, I would think without the weapons that you normally have, it'd probably be best off just to set him anyways, rest him up, because he's your franchise and you don't need him getting banged up, especially with concussion type stuff.
I have the Titans over the Oilers in this one.
There you go.
I don't care what you call them. They're still the Oilers.
Well, the Tennessee Titans will be wearing the Houston Oilers jersey in this particular game. So, and we were talking about this the other day. I'm sure Bone Crusher would agree with me on this. And this is coming from a Titans fan, and we hold all the rights to those jerseys. But I would like to see an element of this rivalry where the last game of this year, each and every year, the winner of it next year gets to wear the Oilers jerseys for that rivalry game.
That's a reward?
Well, it would be like, so if the Texans won on Sunday, then next year in one of those two games, they would be able to wear the Houston Oilers jerseys.
Is there a push by Texans fans that want that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They think that they think because it's the Houston Texans.
You should have supported your team better like 30 years ago, and then you wouldn't have this problem, Houston. Houston, shut your lip, Houston. You have no business. This is like we talked about earlier before the show. St. Pete wants to have the Rays change their name, but they are putting up all the money for the stadium, like some $417 million. So if you're paying for it, then, hey, maybe you should have the rights. But Houston, you had your chance and you squandered it.
Love you.
Go away.
Commanders at the Rams. Rams are a 6.5-point favorite. Total sitting at 48.5. This will be our second game of the afternoon on Sunday. I've got the Rams in this game. Matt Stafford looked pretty good. His jersey didn't, but he looked pretty good last week against the Ravens. I think they keep it rolling and get to 500 here at 7-7.
Yeah, I got the same thing. Give me the Rams too, but don't count out Sam Howell. The dude's a pretty decent quarterback. The Commanders are the kind of sneaky team that could take down a team like the Rams if they're not paying attention and looking ahead.
The Rams.
There we go. Cowboys at the Bills. This game not on our air, but it is a big-time game. The Bills are 2-point favorites, and the total sitting at 49.5. And I'm only going with the Bills because back against the wall type pick here. But then I keep thinking about, man, how often after these big-time emotional wins, like Dallas's win was emotional, but there's no way that it was as emotional as what the Buffalo Bills win was against the Kansas City Chiefs last week. So I'm wondering if that lets them down, but I think being at the house in front of the Bills Mafia in a must-win situation, I got to go with Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, no doubt. Like I said earlier, too, you got the Cowboys play usually in a dome. They're going over to play in Buffalo. The weather's probably not going to be that great. I think the Cowboys benefit so much more playing on that track of turf, similar to the way the Rams did in the early 2000s when they were the greatest show on turf. So because of that, give me the Bills all day.
Bills. Yep.
Bills Mafia. Sunday Night Football right here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Coverage starts at 6:30 for a 7:20 kick. Ravens at the Jaguars. Jaguars are a 3.5-point dog. The total sitting at 43.5. I like the Ravens in this one. I like Lamar Jackson. I don't know what he's going to do fantasy-wise in this game because I could see this one being a little bit more low-scoring than some of the other games. But the Ravens, the Jaguars need this game a lot more than what the Ravens do, but the Ravens are just playing better football, and their defense is going under the radar. Give me the Ravens here, and I think they cover the 3.5.
It's simple for me. It's Trevor Lawrence's health. He's got that high ankle sprain. Because of that, he's not going to be as mobile. He probably shouldn't have played this last week. They should have probably rested him, I'm thinking. So because of that, you got to take the Ravens all day. Lamar Jackson, it's prime time. You know the dude's going to show out. He's going to want to make a name for himself. And, hey, he could still have a chance to win the MVP. So this is giving him an opportunity on a national stage to make himself look good. So give me the Ravens.
Jaguars going to break that 2-game losing streak and retain first place of the AFC South.
Yes, sir. Eagles at the Seahawks. Monday Night Football. Coverage starts here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Monday at 6:30. They'll kick it off at 7:15. Eagles on a 2-game losing streak. Seahawks lost last week pretty convincingly to the 49ers. Who do you like in this one, Caveman Rick?
I want to take the Eagles, obviously. I'm a little hesitant because of the 2 games that we lost. But I think because of that, we really need to show out and really need to start righting the ship. I'm afraid if I pick, the Eagles, we may lose, but I can't pick against my team. You got, 2 different birds here. You got one that's a symbol of our country, majestic bald eagle. The other one, you got a saltwater chicken. Come on, man. Eagles all day long. Give me Philly.
Right, yeah, I got the Eagles too, yeah.
Yeah, dilly, Philly. I've got the Eagles to break that 2-game
Dilly. Haven't heard that in a while. Those were some great commercials back in the day.
When I was about to say when I was down there at NASCAR, but when I was down there in Daytona for the Daytona 500, there was a dude who was wearing one of those T-shirts represented by that brand that said Dilly, and I was like, cool. Man, it's been a long time.
Right?
Like, because when that commercial first started coming around, that's all you walk anywhere, Dilly.
Man, I go all the way back to the Bud Ice Penguin, man, when I started, so I'm showing my age.
So I'm assuming that's before the Frog then.
Oh, yeah, the Bud Ice Penguin, man, that goes all the way back to like 94, 95, man. So, yeah, and I lived in St. Louis when that came out, too, so it was pretty cool.
What's up?
Doobie doo. If anybody knows, that's what the Bud Ice Penguin used to say. Doobie doo.
I don't remember that guy.
You don't remember that guy?
No, man.
Oh, man. Like Google or YouTube old Bud Ice commercials. They had one where, like, you know, like the horror story where somebody's, like, you know, calling the house up, and the number when they look at it is coming from in the house is who's calling. And it's the Bud Ice Penguin calling people up. Doobie doo on the phone, getting people to drink Bud Ice.
I'm seeing some stuff here about it. That is
great
an
marketing.
ugly-looking penguin, though.
Great marketing back then,
Everyone forgot about it but you.
That penguin looked like he'd been drinking Bud Ice for quite a few years.
Before that, you had, what was it, Spuds McKenzie for Budweiser and Bud Light. That was pretty big. And then I think after that, that's when you had the Penguin.
Coach James Hill Show will be live at 7 in the morning on Monday. The Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey and Jay Henley live Monday at 11. Y'all keep it locked into ESPN Northwest Florida all weekend long for some great NFL football. Just remember, Jesus loves you, so do I, and y'all have a great weekend.
Start your morning with sports updates, interviews, reactions, lively discussions, insights, and expert analysis.
I think in our lifetime, we will never see another undefeated team.
Join Evan, Canty, and Michelle weekday mornings from 5 to 7.
It will never